Hi, welcome to the second part of Chapter 6. Chapter 6 ends on a very, very important note. I'm going to give an introduction to this concept, and then we'll deal with the four parts of this concept individually. Each and every one of us has a divine soul and an animal soul. It's a very, very complicated subject because none of us think of ourselves as split personalities. But every single philosophical, spiritual work attests to the fact that we are split personalities. We do have, on one hand, this desire for selflessness, and on the other hand, it's obvious that our motives are often selfish. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean evil, but it means if I'm hungry, who am I trying to feed? Myself. If I do something that is pleasurable to me, I go on a vacation, who am I trying to take care of? Myself. So in other words, to get to the state of selflessness, you have to be able to overcome the state of selfishness. Now that obviously doesn't mean you may not eat, but it does mean that your primary desire has to be for unconditional love. And as long as you are stuck within selfish desires, and those desires are your primary desires, you won't be able to activate your selflessness. Now, this is an interesting thing that Freud speaks about. He says, how come we all admire somebody like Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison, bears no grudge, saves his, brings freedom to his people, and yet very few of us are willing to spend 27 years in prison to do what we admire that he did. Because again, he was able to be a selfless person, while most of us, it's not that we don't desire selflessness, it's we don't have the capacity to overcome our selfishness. So the life that you will lead from this moment on will be a life either of selflessness or selfishness. And I don't say that in a way to, God forbid, denigrate you. I'm just saying the natural instinct of man is animal. Like every single animal in this universe, it's all about my desires, and they are not selfless. And in order to get to selfless, you have to be able to overcome selfish. And fundamentally speaking, the animal soul comprises of four selfish desires: earth, air, fire, and water. Earth represents laziness, a tendency to depression when we don't get what we want. Fire represents arrogance, which is a tendency to anger when we feel demeaned. Air is a tendency for frivolity, for like comedy. Most of what we're doing in the West today with our free time, wasting our time on television or YouTube videos and things like that that have no real meaning in life, is air kind of stuff. And then finally there is water, which is a desire for pleasure. It is obviously, many people unfortunately are addicted to drugs. There's a strong desire for pleasure, maybe seeking vacations, different kind of forms of pleasure, and these pleasures are literally trapping a person. Drug addict is the ultimate example of a person who really, most drug addicts are very beautiful, wonderful people. They're just like me and you, and maybe you yourself are a drug addict. You are a beautiful person with wonderful selfless desires, and you can change the world and you can live a very meaningful life. But as long as your desire for the drugs is greater than your desire for the selflessness, you cannot change anything. And therefore, we're going to discuss these four personality traits and how we can overcome each one, which will free our real self, our divine side, into a life of meaning. Thank you.